Okay, the brightness is not the best, but we're gonna work with it. Thank you for coming here today. My name is Leonidas. I'm going to talk about organizing code, styles, and more in your Flutter apps so you can make scalable apps without going crazy later on. So, about me. I'm a mobile developer. I have been developing software for more than 20 years. I started with desktops back when I started because there wasn't any mobile. Actually, the first mobile development I did back in the university was with Nokia phones. Anyone did that? With Symbian? Nice. Most of the new guys have no idea what I'm talking about. And then I jumped to working as a full stack in web in the university, later in a company in the UK. And around 2007 or 8, people started telling me about Android and that it's the new thing and I should move there. My university was powered by Sun back then, and we were doing a lot of Java. So it was an easy move from Java and from all the web I had to the first Android. I actually got my first Android by selling my PSP Vita, or I don't know, maybe it was the first version, to get the HTC Desire. None of these companies exist anymore. So I started doing a lot of apps as a hobby on the HTC, and then I had my first client who was interested in the UK to make. No, it was actually in Greece, based in UK, to make a mobile app. And I was starting to researching how I can make the apps to work both on Android and iOS, and they also had a need for web. So I stopped doing Android native and started researching cross-platform technologies, which landed me on the lovely, for the time, Adobe Flex. It was donated to Apache later on, and I don't think it exists anymore, which was based in Flash. Anyone knows Flash? So yeah, Adobe had this idea that we already have Flash, and there was Flash CSS back then, I think, and a lot of people were using it to make games for web, and how we can move these games to Android, which is the platform that is going to be popular. So they started migrating part of the compiler to work both for web, Flash player, and also native Android. And then 2 years later, maybe, they also did iOS. So I worked with that for a long time, making native cross-platform mobile apps. And then in around 2018, in one of the Google events, we were, I think maybe in Spain, one of the Googlers told me, there are these nice technologies coming out for distributing Fastlane. It's in beta and you can use it to distribute your apps easier, automated, and don't have to actually do the whole manual job, compile it, upload it to the store. And we have an internal version of a new cross-platform technology that's coming up, Flutter. You should really take a look at it. So I started working with Flutter, and the first production app was in 2019, and I think the first one was for Antenna Music, for the radio station, either Ithmos or Easy. And it worked so nice. It was so fast to work with it. Like the app we had before, it was made with Apache Flex, as I said. It took us like a month or so to make. And then migrating this app in Flutter took us like 3 days, 2 days, something like that, for everything. And it had better performance, it had much easier updating system. The app was like maybe 1/3 of the size, so it was really nice to work with Flutter. So why I'm working with Flutter? I'm a co-founder of Simple Apps. We make mobile apps. We are a mobile agency here in Greece. We make mobile apps for bigger companies like Cosmote, Eurobank, Almazois, I referred to it before, Antenna. And we also make our own apps like games with other companies or internal tools for companies. And I'm also a GTG organizer and WTM ambassador. For those who don't know, GTG stands for Google Developers Group here in Athens. We hold monthly or one every 2 months meetups where we discuss new technologies that emerge. Right now, as you may expect, the theme is AI on everything. We're gonna do this bottle with AI. Add Gemini to it to make it perfect. So if you want to follow me or connect to LinkedIn or you have any questions, you can find me on this QR on my website. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, it's imleo.dev. I'll have all this in the final slide too. So what is Flutter? As I said, cross-compile technology, cross-platform technology. It works on everything right now. Android, iOS, desktops, both Windows and Mac OS. All these are native. The final product is native. So for iOS and Mac, you have to even compile it with Xcode. It's not like React or Ionic that you had the product on web and you wrap it up with an app wrapper to fake the native behavior. It also works on Linux. It works in a lot of IoT things, like LG right now is changing their system on TVs. Anyone has an LG TV? Okay, so they are using WebOS. They have been using it for many, many years. And WebOS is based on HTML5, which is slow, very slow. I don't know if you have noticed. So there was this thing with Google that they wanted to push Flutter to be an Internet of Things platform with a different OS. Back in the day, it was called Fuchsia. I think that's not the thing anymore. But they managed to make a Flutter built for IoT devices. So right now, LG is making their interface on TVs with Flutter. Toyota has completely changed their infotainment on all the new cars working with Flutter. Volt was acquired by DoorDash, USA company, and they had to get in many countries outside USA and Europe. And they realized that supporting many different platforms in many different countries with different devices available was really, really hard doing native. So I think that mostly for Middle East and India and other emerging economies in the sector, they changed the merchant app to be 100% cross-platform with Flutter. So now the first version of their merchant app, I think, was only for web. And now it works on desktops, it works on iPads, it works on everything. And also it's a great company because they open source most of the things they make for Flutter and Android. BMW is also doing some things in Flutter. eBay is using Flutter. Of course, all the Google apps you are using, like Google Wallet, Google Pay, Google Ads, Google Analytics are made in Flutter. So it became huge in like 2 or 3 years. It even surpassed other technologies used by many developers in web. And why did this happen? It's because it's really easy to start. It's a very high-level language, so you actually don't have to go through a huge learning curve. Like when I started with Flutter, it took me about 30 hours to do the course I had to do to be able to start with Flutter. So yeah, if you are interested in mobile development or cross-platform development, you can check it out. It's really easy to start and you can do amazing things. You can even do games nowadays. So the alternatives that we currently have are Kotlin multi-platform, and I'm not sure if Swift is actually multi-platform or it's just Android and iOS right now, but I find it easier to work with Flutter. So what we are going to discuss today: how to organize your projects. Why is that a problem? We can just start and do whatever we do usually, and it should work, right? Yeah, it works until the app has to grow, until you have to get more people in working in the app, in your team, until you have like a 2 million user base and you need to change things fast. And then if it's not organized, you have to go through tons and tons of code and find where you introduce the new bugs or how to change things. And why I started doing this inside our company. So, as I said, I have worked on a lot of projects since 2008. And I still remember one of the projects I had to do for a university. I jumped in the project to maintain it. And it was a system to manage students, courses, teachers, grades for the university. And they had some issues and they wanted to update the app. So I came as a subcontractor. I was given access to the code, and the whole code was one file. Everything was under one file, like 20,000 lines of code in different blocks, students, teachers, everything. And I opened it and the preview was like huge. Instant RAM overflow. Couldn't load the preview. So I spent like a month breaking it down to block by block, students, courses, in order to be able to find out what is happening and how to work on this project. So that was a very bad experience, and I promised that I will always organize my code as I should. In Flutter is not one of the opinionated frameworks. Like on Android, when you start working with Android, you are exactly given a folder system, folder structure on what to do, where to put the files. Like you have a file for the UI and in XML, and you have a different file, .r, .kt, depending on the language you're working, that all your code, the functioning part of the app goes there. But on Flutter, you can do whatever you want. You're free to manage everything as you want. Second example of how bad organizing can be sometimes, like this summer, Google was changing the minimum SDK that you have to have on your apps in order to be able to download it from the store. So one of our clients called me and he was like, yeah, you know, Leo, we haven't updated the app for like 5 years now. And I think it's time to update the SDK so we are not removed from the app, not anything crazy. So I load it from GitHub, everything is fine, nothing compiles because I updated Flutter framework and it's used an old framework, and I never actually noted which version was using. So yeah, I spent like maybe 5 days trying to fix that, go back to another version. I ended up updating everything in order to be able to overcome this. So yeah, organizing is always a problem. Why it's a problem? It's because you can't actually bring people inside your team very fast. I worked for a company as a subcontractor for a bit in Cyprus, and they didn't have any documentation. They didn't have the same structure on every project. So when I was in the week of onboarding, they just gave me all their projects and they told me, just go through them, read all the code, and if you have questions, ask a senior management to tell you what is, where it is. So yeah, in 1 week I didn't do anything because it wasn't an easy way to get on board. And also, in the same company, but in other projects too, you end up with duplicate code. If you have a structure like this, you say it's a very shallow structure, everything is on the library folder on the root, you end up with duplicate code because you have things like widgets. Widgets are the things in Flutter that show something on the UI, like a field to fill your email is a widget. So you end up with duplicates in many files because you are going to reuse system UI patterns. And of course, this also create duplication among screens on imports because let's say on profile you have an avatar for the profile of the user, but then you need an avatar to use in the login or in the home. So you end up calling something that exists in profile back to home. So this gets complex and complicated very fast. And of course, at some point you are going to have broken imports because you moved something you shouldn't, or some class moved to another file, like the user's model moved inside the profile to fix something. So this all works until it doesn't because your app is scaling up. So the solution we came up with my team is something like this. It seems more complex, but you can see that everything is broken down as features. So the home is a feature, the login is a different one, and the styles exist on a different folder. All the widgets that used around the app exist on a different folder. This is much easier to read, much easier to figure out where things are. And with this structure, you can actually understand where things are without even documentation. So you end up with reusable code, like I said before, widgets. I have a text field, special text field that I like with my colors and with my error messages, red text field, and I don't have to actually call it from login anymore. It exists in widgets and I can use it in the whole app, just calling from my widgets folder. And another part that was really tricky for us, coming from different technologies, was how to separate the actual UI from the logic, the UI and the code. In Flutter, you can have all the code and all the logic in the same file as the UI, and as you understand, this can be problematic because when you change something, you have to also change it the style. It doesn't really work easy. So what we came up was a system called using a view and a controller. The view is actually holding only the UI, nothing more. It's like the XML on Android, if you're familiar. And the controller holds all the logic of the app, of the specific screen. Exactly the same way .kt file for an activity on Android would work. So in order to do that, organizing your code will start doing things. So on the top URL, you can get one of the templates we're using. It's a skeleton app you can start. It has all the folders we saw before. Again, this is the thing we are using as a company, so you're not supposed to take it as the best solution, but it's a good start, and if you want to adjust it to your own coding style, you're more than welcome. So what we're doing, we're going to break the monolithic approach. The home has everything. We're not doing that. We're breaking into features. We're going to discuss where files should live and why. Separate the UI and the code. And there are many ways to do this on Flutter. A lot of people using state management systems, different architecture patterns. But I hate using a lot of packages for things that you are not meant to, a lot of plugins. So we figured out a way that you don't have to actually use external packages, plugins, to achieve this. So in this Git link, you can also find the template that we will be using on the live templates. It's a template that separates the UI and the code in two different files, and you add it on Android Studio. So you go to settings for all the Android settings, and then on editors, and then there's this thing, I'm not sure if you can see it, file and code templates, and here you can create your own template. So we hit the plus symbol and we create a template for the UI. and then the sub-template for the code. Again, you can grab everything from my link. And this will separate the UI in a good way. So let's move for a bit to, sorry for this. Yeah?
This is an organizing template.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a proposed good structure to use that separates the screens, the styles, the services, the utils. So let's open this one. Okay, so you can see here a lot of things going on, and you can see that it's separated, all the project is separated the way I was talking about before. This is all the screens, all the different screens, and after we have added the template, we can go create a new screen. So new, and we will find the template here. This is the one we created in the previous step. So you create a new screen, OpenConf. That's it. And we can see here, that it created two files. It created the OpenConf file screen that will hold all the UI, and it also created a controller file that here we will have all the logic. So let's see a bad example of this. So this is an app which maybe it will work, maybe it will not. We will find out soon. Okay. Okay, so this is a quick app. I will also share in the link for this one. This is a bad example to follow. Everything is on one folder. You can see that app drawer, which is a widget, is in the same folder as screens. Screens have bad naming. And there are no controllers, everything is in one file. So here you can see, for example, that let's go to speakers. This is a file an app when it runs for OpenConf, a conf app that has the agenda, has a few speakers, have sponsors, and you can see that actually the UI for the speakers is mixed with code. This is a very bad approach. So if we want to have a cleaner version of this for speakers, we should add a speakers folder, and then again, speakers view state system. And this is much cleaner, as you can see. So I will move back to the presentation because I'm running a bit late on time, and we can go back and revisit the live code if we have more time available when we finish up. So organizing your themes. Why should you organize your themes? In Flutter, the themes go under the main app. So in the main .dart file, you have your material app if you are using material as a style guide, and then there is an option theme, and everything goes there. As you may understand, the theme can be huge because you have to have colors, font sizes, if you have rounded corners or on your buttons. So the theme gets out of hand really quickly. And also styles. Styles in Flutter and is the same as in Android. You can have it on the line of your widget. So the text, the label can have its own style. but that's a bad practice because you end up with having all the styles inside the code. And if you want to do any changes, like change my font weight on titles from 18 to 16, you have to refactor all the code or go step by step. So what we introduced was a similar folder system, just like the logic one. There's a theme folder that holds separated files for colors, styles, sizes, and theme. So with this system, you don't have any hard-coded styles inside your code. Everything exists in these files, and you can make changes really quickly. Like in colors, you want to change a color from red to pink, you just change it there and it will change in the whole app without refactoring. And there is a clear separation on folders, so you can find it very easy, no documentation needed, although you should have documentation in your code. So this is the colors file, very simple. The reason we're using it is because it's easy to work with the designers. So the designer of the company is making the new design for the app, and we can actually extract all the colors in Flutter, in Dart, from the Figma file. So everything is very clean. If they do any changes on Figma, we can extract again and just paste it on our code and it will work. You don't have to go through your whole code refactoring. We have the themes.dart. As I said before, the theme can exist in the material app, in the main app, but the block can get huge. Like in my Alma app, the theme is like maybe 100 lines of code. But you can have a separated class in themes.dart with light theme, dark theme, different themes you may be using in the app, and it's much cleaner. And it also allows multiple themes. Like we have an app a few years ago that the theme of the app was changing dynamically based on the user's input. So it was like a travel guide, AI travel guide, where you will inputting that I'm traveling alone or with family, I'm traveling with car, I'm interested on food or agriculture or sightseeing. And based on the selections you did when generating a new tour, the whole theme of the app will change. Colors, shapes of the buttons, fonts, font sizes, even the backgrounds. Like we had a travel one, like a backpacker travel one. We had an elegant one. We had like 6-7 themes. And it was much easier to change the themes as a different class than actually recompiling rebuilding the whole app when changing a theme. So sizes. Sizes again can be a trouble to work with because you have to have spacing in the whole app, like the margins of your listings, of your lists, the gaps between rows and columns. If you have everything hard-coded and your designer, thank God she's not here so she can't shoot me, do a small change, like, you know what, I don't like that. It shouldn't be 5 pixels, it should be 8. You have to refactor the whole app. Or you can use a file like that, sizes, and just make a small adjustment, change 5 to 8, and will work right away. The designer can see it if they like it, or change the font and move on. Like we have a lot of changes. Please do the font size from 16 to 17 because that will be better. So yeah, with this version, you don't have to refactor your code. So in sizes, we hold the spacing for the whole app, also the paddings, the radius, as I said before, for the buttons, how the corners are. And I'm also using Gap here. Gap is a really nice plugin that for Flutter that allows you to adjust spacings very quickly, so you don't have to use empty spaces. Or another alternative a lot of people are using is Sizebox, but the performance is not that good. And then we have styles. So styles, as I said before, are the styles that go in many things in Flutter, like labels, text inputs, even a button can have its own style. So we were looking for a way to get the styles outside the theme, because some of the fonts, some of the text should have a lot of different styles. And we came up with this thing. So how do you style labels in Flutter? You can go to the theme, and there is a text theme, and you have like maybe 10 predefined classes that you can use, like heading 1, heading 2, paragraph, subtitle. But you have to always use the same name. If you want to use it, you have to use heading 1, style heading 1, which obviously it's not easy to understand in a huge project. So we were looking for something a bit more readable. And with the experience we had from web, we came up with this system that looks like a CSS. Anyone working with CSS for web? So it's basically the same as a class. We name it, K, title, style, and then we give it the style it should have. It's very close to CSS also. And then when you have to use it in the titles in your app, you just say style equals K title style. So again, you don't put the actual style in the code. So if you need to do any changes, like change my font size from 22 to 20, you just go to the styles file, change it, no refactor needed. Everything works very fast. And then we also made our own template for assets. The assets is a folder that holds everything outside your code, like icons, images, backgrounds, fonts, translation files. Everything goes to assets. You can have an assets folder that has no structure and everything goes there. Android Studio will organize alphabetically, and then you will be looking for hours to find where your icon is. So we broke everything down to folders to be easier to work with. This approach is similar to Android and also may be the same on the web. So yeah, this is the one we are using. We are also using SVGs. It's easier to use icons as SVGs on your app, so you don't have to have multiple icons with different resolutions for Android and iOS. And there are tools like Assets Manager. One of the Assets Manager we are using, we will see it later, is Spider. Spider basically gets all your assets and organize them in classes, so you don't have to remember the path they are or the name they're using, like assets dash background dash my lovely background dot JPEG. This is prone to have a typo in your app and your app crashing, but with Spider you can make it strong type, and you just call images dot background dot my lovely background, and it will work. So again, this approach is much easier to maintain as the project becomes bigger, and I know it may not make sense for a project with like 2 or 3 screens, but there are projects like our average project has like 50 screens. One of the biggest projects we have done is like an Instagram for travelers. There is a wall, there is chat, there are people uploading their galleries, uploading their images. It's a huge project, like maybe 60 screens. Imagine having everything on the main folder instead of separating in a better structure. So again, we will move to Android Studio to see how styles exist here. There we go. You can see all the colors. So this is not the app we're using. Yeah, don't have it. Anyways. So you can make changes straight away here, and it will work for your colors and sizes. Again, you can see this app has a lot of different spacings, paddings, and this approach is much easier than going around the code, trying to figure out where gap 40 is and change it. The styles I talked before, This is like a CSS file with all the fonts and styling for text and inputs. And then the themes folder. You can see how big the theme for this app is. So imagine having it on your home screen and having to just scroll down to find anything. Okay, so organizing packages. Again, one of the biggest problems with organizing is how to maintain your apps as they grow or as they become older. And one of our biggest issue are external packages. External packages keep changing, like Firebase, OneSignal. They may push updates every week, every 10 days. And then they will also push breaking code updates maybe once a month. So we were trying to figure out a solution to have a more consistent system for our external packages. And we came up with the helpers. So Firebase helper, as we can see here, is our own file, which wraps Firebase. Anyone working with Firebase here? Nice. How many times it broke in the last 6 months? Okay, so we introduce a helper, and it wraps Firebase, and we expose our own classes, our own methods on everything. So it's more consistent for our products, for our apps. It's much easier to maintain, and basically you maintain one library for all your products. So the last break I had, like maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, I can remember, they changed the analytics for Firebase that tracks the screen that the user currently is, and they changed it from log current screen to set current screen. So obviously it broke in all the projects. Now, if I had Firebase in my code without any helper, I would have to go to every single project and refactor it on every single screen because it has to live in every single screen. But with Firebase helper, I just went in my library on GitHub, I changed it there, got my library from GitHub on all the projects, compiled, and boom, it was done. I didn't waste maybe 3 weeks updating all 35 projects. I spent like an hour and then recompiled all the projects, and that was it. You can do this in all the external libraries. We're also doing it on OneSignal, which is also a library that it's prone to break from time to time. And we are also doing it on local utils. The reason we are doing it on local classes is that you will end up using again and again your code in different projects. Like if you have a date formatter, for example, why rewrite it on the next project and the next project and the next project? You can have your own small local package that contains everything. So here I'm using my own package. It lives on GitHub and has a few utils that we keep using in our apps, like validate password. If there is a minimum length for password, I don't have to go in all the apps and rewrite the code. I can actually have it on my own package and reuse it. And if I need to change something because Flutter changed or something on Dart changed, I can just update my GitHub, grab it in all the projects, and all my projects will be consistent and easy to update. Back to Android Studio. So we can see one of the Firebase helpers here. It's consistent in all the apps. It checks what platform it is, it starts analytics. Where is it? The log, for example, they changed the log a while back. It used to be dynamic and they changed to object. Now, if you had a log on your code, usually it's used to track buttons, fields, where the user is clicking on your app. You will have to go through the whole app and make changes in every single screen. But instead, we change it here from dynamic to object. It works. Same with set screen. The example I said before, they changed it from set screen view to log screen view. So I just had to go here, do the change, and don't actually have to go in all my screens. And inside the screens, let's go here. Okay. Apparently I found the only screen is not using Firebase. Anyways, it's really easy to use Firebase helper.setScreen and you're good to go. Okay, let's talk about some more organizing tips. So these are some of the tools that will help you organize your code better. I talked a bit about Spider before. Spider is an assets management plugin that allows you to create a configuration file and say that all my SVGs are on that folder, all my images are on that folder, all my backgrounds are on that folder, and it runs on CLI, it runs on the terminal. You don't have to actually have it on your project, and it will generate files, classes for you that allow you to use the image as strong type and not as string, which is prone to typos. The Flutter translation sheet generator, huge name, we call it FTS. It's a similar system that allows you to organize your translations a bit better. So instead of using strings inside the text, hard-coded strings, you can use keys, just as you will do on Android, and you can hold everything on a Google spreadsheet. So we have the English translation in a Google spreadsheet, and with the system we're using FTS, you can also have auto-translate on Google Sheets. So you just add English and then select the extra languages you want to use, like French, Japanese, Korean. And the Google Sheet will auto-generate the translations for you and make classes on your code, so everything is ready to use very fast. Of course, auto-translation can be really bad, so always go back to the spreadsheet and check everything and make appropriate changes. We have the lovely FVM. Anyone using it from Flutter? Yeah. Okay, so what FVM does is that you can lock your project on a specific version of Flutter. As I said, Flutter moves very fast with updates. So if you go back to an app that you did like 2 years ago, it will probably won't work. So with FVM, you can tell your specific project that has to use the version 2.3 from 5 years ago, and it will keep working. And you can have multiple Flutter versions on your system. Like as I said before, we maintain more than 20 apps right now. Imagine having to remember for every app or having notes for every app which version it's using. Instead, we can use FVM. It's just a config file, doesn't need to have anything else in the app, and you lock it to the previous version or the version before. So it's easier to go back to your apps. Melos is also a management tool. It's a monorepo management tool. As I said, you can have your own packages, and when you're building a lot of apps, you will end up with a lot of packages. So you can have a monorepo, a huge repo that has all your packages inside it. So it's more consistent to use throughout all your apps. And you can manage it with Melos. Melos is a tool that allows you to build them or update dependencies, only for one of the packages included in the huge monorepo. And also, you can use Gemini. Gemini 3 was released a few days ago, probably, yeah. We were using Gemini 2.5 before that. Gemini 3 is very good in organizing if you can tell it what to do. You can tell it to refactor your code and remove all the styles from your code to a different file, so you don't have to do it on your own. You can do it. You can use it to help with documentation. Like, I hate writing documentation. I get that everyone hates writing documentation, clean documentation. So instead of that, we can just go to Gemini on Android Studio and tell it, please write documentation, my current file, and we'll make it for you. You can generate boilerplate for new features. So you can tell it, please make me a new login screen with a template I'm using in the app, and it will generate you the folder structure and the files. And of course, dependency cleanup. You can do dependency cleanup when you are done with your project, it's ready to release. You can tell it to remove all the not used imports. Be aware that there are cases that the dependency cleanup ended up removing all the files. I had this one on web. It just deleted everything, cleaned up my folder. So be aware. And let me show you here. Yeah, let's delete this. I already have it on GitHub, but I don't have the link right now, but you can grab it as a bad structure example. This is an app, let me run it again, that was completely made with Gemini. I haven't written any lines of code on this one. Doesn't want to work. Yay, died. Okay, let me restart, and we are just wrapping up here, so we are not losing anything. I have one more slide with all the URLs. You can grab code and everything. Okay, so as I said, the checklist for releasing an app in Flutter should be cleaning up your imports, making sure the structure is good. I also like to write about my structure on README, so other people can just read the README file and figure out why I'm using this structure. It's really easy to get new members on board. And there are packages, as I said, you can use: Spider, FTS, Melos, FVM. There are more packages you can use. But the most important thing is that your code is clean, so you can revisit and maintain easier. Let me get back to the slide so you can grab all the links that you might need. And also, do you have questions about Flutter, about organizing? Yeah.
So how do you deploy?
How do?
Deploy.
Deploy, okay. So Flutter, you write everything on that and Flutter, and then you can go to the terminal and you write a simple command. Great. Flutter build APK or app bundle, and then you have some options to change the version of the build, obfuscate, remove debug info. So you run the command, it starts running, it makes the app bundle or the APK, and then you upload to the store. For iOS, sorry for this. For iOS, it's pretty much the same. You run flutter build IPA. It will create an archive, and then you have to go to Xcode because it's a native. Sign it, and then you have to open the build file and validate it and upload to the developer, to the store. It goes to test flight first, and then you can deploy it. Yeah, it's pretty much easy. For web, for Windows, you have to use Visual Studio because you have to download the huge SDK for Windows 10 and Windows 11. It's the same approach, build, Flutter build, Windows, I think.
Yeah. So you're using two laptops?
Yeah. Well, I use Windows Desktop as my main machine, and I have a Mac Mini for developing for iOS, so I'm changing between them.
And for the simulation?
For the simulation on iOS, I'm using iOS Simulator, but as a company, we end up with a lot of devices.
So you test flight?
Yeah, test flight is the last part before deployment. We run on simulators, then we move to Firebase. Firebase has a huge library with both fake devices, but also they now give you free time on real devices. Like you say you want to test on Samsung S24, and you have like, I think 30 minutes or so every month.
Consider to buy a MacBook Pro?
I have a Mac Mini, and I'm waiting for a Mac Air too. But yeah, I'm mostly developing on desktop as my main on Windows machine as my main machine. But
What's the idea you're using on the Android Studio?
yeah, I'm using Android Studio, and from from JetBrains products, I'm also using DataGrid for backend for my databases. I'm using
Datagrid like MSQL.
It's similar to.
So which database are you using? Firebase.
I'm using Firebase for smaller projects, but usually we get large projects with a lot of things needed in database. So the system we use as a company is we have Firebase for authentication, and it's connected to a PHP backend using MySQL or Postgre, depending on the project. Yeah, exactly. Because it's a more robust system and much cheaper to run.
Yeah, and you're using directly SQL queries or framework?
Now we're using PHP Slim. It's a micro framework. It's like Laravel, but it's very tiny. Like maybe the whole deployment is like 1.2 megabytes.
And when the mobile device doesn't have internet?
We usually make apps that need to be connected because they are more social network apps. But which app do you have? Like, for example, we have one of the apps we made as a companion app for Pokemon Go when the whole thing blew up, and we were using Firebase remote config that allows you to have a local file for everything. Everything was on JSON, and if we needed to make an adjustment on anything, change the file on Firebase. When the user is online, they will grab the new file. This is how the old database on Firebase was working real time. No, it was working fine. I mean, some of the users may complain that they are outdated, but I mean, most of the users are connected these days, so you don't have these problems. Another approach I have heard other developers doing when you are not doing Firebase, right? Because Firebase has an offline capability. You can run on MySQL or another type of database and also have an SQLite on the device, or there are different systems, like one of the very fast database systems on Flutter is called Hive. It's very fast for reading and writing. So you grab everything from the remote database and sync into the local one. And Hive, I think, also allows check of transactions. So if you're not online, it grabs the timeline and it will push the latest update.
Yeah. What you would propose? HTML.
For me, I would go with Hive. Yeah. Yeah, it's really fast. It has been around for like 4 years since Flutter beginning. It's very fast to use. If you have a lot of data, right? If you have something like, if you need to, let's say, save the user, you can use set preferences like on Android. You can have an SQLite. Or if you have a small system, like an organizing system for a garage, we'd say. Small data, it's not huge, you can use SQLite. But it tends to be slower than the other options. So it all comes down to your data. If you have a huge system, go with Hive. If you have a smaller system, set perfs, SQLite is fine. Other questions? We can move to Greek if it's better for the questions. Okay, yeah. Το Flutter χρησιμοποιούμε Android Studio σαν IDE για να γράψουμε. Η γλώσσα λέγεται Dart. Είναι γλώσσα που είναι cross-compile παντού, μπορεί να τρέξει ακόμα και σε σερβερ. Ναι, ναι, είναι όλα Dart. Το Flutter ουσιαστικά είναι το framework του UI. Χοντρικά. Μπορείς να κάνεις πάρα πολλά πράγματα. Έχει και έξτρα πράγματα που δεν έχει στην Dart. Είναι ήδη μέσα στο Android Studio, επειδή είναι Google Technology, είναι Google Framework, το οποίο είναι open source, υπάρχει ήδη στο Android Studio. Ή αν χρησιμοποιείς το IntelliJ της JetBrains, που είναι το Android Studio χωρίς το branding του Android, το κάνεις install σαν plugin.
Και το βγάζεις sign για το Google Play.
Για όλα το κάνεις sign μέσα από το Android Studio, κάνεις το Android. Αντίστοιχα, όταν κάνεις το compile για το iOS, πρέπει να κάνεις sign μέσα από το Xcode. Υπάρχουν tools που μπορείς να το κάνεις cloud. Νομίζω και η ίδια η Apple αφήνει μέσα από το dashboard της. Υπάρχει το Code Magic. Υπάρχουν πάρα πολλά services. Ναι. Το κάνει sign. Ναι, ναι, ανεβαίνει και το στέλνει στο store. Συνήθως αυτά τα services τα περισσότερα είναι free με κάποιο χρόνο, ξέρω, μία ώρα. Ναι, ναι, αυτό. Οκ, μπορούμε να το κλείσουμε. Για άλλες ερωτήσεις θα είμαι έξω. Όχι της Amazon. Hive στο pub.dev είναι όλα τα plugins του Flutter. Εκεί μπορείτε να βρείτε οτιδήποτε θέλετε ως έξτρα για το Flutter, για plugins που είναι είτε κάποιο library είτε external libraries. Και εκεί θα υπάρχει το Hive ως option. Ακριβώς, ναι, ναι. Αυτά που συζητήσαμε μπορείτε να τα βρείτε σε αυτά τα δύο links, στο Medium, όλο το code organizing. Μπορείτε να με βρείτε στο Medium, μπορείτε να κάνετε reach out στο site μου. Όλα υπάρχουν στο GitHub και θα ανεβάσουμε στο site και το presentation για όποιον το θέλει. Ευχαριστώ που ήρθατε. Thank you for coming. And I will be outside for more questions.